Was it always like this?
No, it wasn't. I got a lot of happy memories of this place.
Wish I could say the same.
Welcome home, James.
Alright, let's level. The total extent of my prior knowledge related to the Gears of War series up to last year was that it featured a very limited color palette and an exorbitant number of very broad shoulders. I came into Gears of War 4 as a complete newcomer to the franchise, and I suspect that anyone looking at the game right now is probably in the same boat. You're thinking that at 60% off for a AAA title that's barely 2 years old, you'll probably be getting a good deal. But you're probably also a little hesitant because this is an established franchise with an established fan base and established gameplay mechanics. So the question you've very probably been asking yourself over the past year and a half is, can a newcomer to the series really get in and enjoy this game even with the pre-existing storyline and gameplay tropes, or do you have to at least be familiar with the trends of the earlier games to not feel like you're slogging through a morass of preconceptions going in? Well, series newcomer who thinks in incredibly long sentences, that's exactly the question I'm here to answer. I'm going to say right off the bat the first thing Gears of War 4 does really well for you is the single-player campaign, which starts an entirely new story focused around new characters. The world is carried over from previous Gears games, I assume, but since they start the story more than 20 years after the conclusion of the last game, they have to introduce everyone to a new group of characters and a new way of doing things. There's a sort of prologue that gives you a quick rundown of the war that preceded the events of this game, and that gave me all the background I felt like I needed. The second thing the game does right by newcomers is, frankly, to just be itself. The controls are introduced slowly and in a situation that escalates naturally, meaning you get the gameplay tools you need without feeling like the game is babying you or simply dropping you in at the deep end. Beyond that, it makes no apologies for the ways it's just not like other games. You don't run, you roadie run, which will take some getting used to. Cover shooting isn't strafing into a door to shoot at enemies in the next room, it's the primary gameplay mechanic that has the side effect of populating the entire world with a frankly hilarious number of waist-high objects that you can duck behind. Along with the cover mechanic, there's mantling, which is how you climb over walls or up stepped inclines. There is no jumping in this game, which again will take some getting used to, but which also seems oddly appropriate considering the incredible muscular breadth of these people. That much bulk would make jumping difficult. Seriously, Marcus Phoenix's neck is literally as wide as his head. It's cartoonish. And the shooting, which controls more like what you're probably familiar with, is centered almost entirely around guns I can only describe as ludicrously chunky. There are a couple of quick-firing, lightweight guns, but they do so little damage they literally feel like toys in comparison to the rest of the available arsenal. The machine guns feel like fully auto shotguns, the shotguns feel like artillery pieces, and there's a gun literally called Overkill. And there is no stealth in this game. You don't sneak up behind your enemies and knife them in the back. You plow right into wave upon wave of your enemies, rolling from cover to cover, blasting them with whatever gigantic hand cannons come your way. The closest thing you'll get to an assassination in this game is dragging an enemy combatant out of cover so you can impale them with a bayonet, or, even better, tear them in half with a chainsaw on the end of your gun. Basically what I'm saying is, the game feels heavy. The controls and shooting are all very deliberate, very weighty, and nothing in the game world feels flimsy or agile. This is all intentional. They're not trying to give you Tomb Raider or Uncharted, where half the game is spent nimbly scrambling up walls trying to find a vantage point from which you can silently empty a base of entrenched enemies without exposing yourself to harm. In Gears of War, your defense is the little wall in front of you, and your primary weapon is all-out aggression in the face of seemingly numberless foes. The game knows exactly what it is, and as a newcomer to the franchise, I appreciate the focused experience. In terms of what the game has to offer to actually keep you entertained, there's a full-size story campaign that can be played individually or cooperatively, there's a co-op PvE Horde mode where you team up with friends to defend yourselves against waves of computer-controlled bots, and there's a full-on multiplayer arena with various PvP modes you can play. All three of the primary modes are about as polished as you would expect from a big-budget AAA title, and offer gameplay for a wide range of playstyle preferences. The story mode is fairly linear, but really that's expected for the vast majority of third- and first-person shooters like this. The levels are all well-designed and fully populated, the production in regards to cutscenes and character animations are top-notch, and the voice acting is excellent. As with most shooter campaigns, its intent is to be played through once, which will give you a full familiarity with how the game's mechanics function in basically every possible situation. After that, you're supposed to go play the multiplayer or co-op modes, which will take those same mechanics and apply them in ways that are meant to be replayable because of the addition of other humans and arcade-esque rewards and progression. So really, for all the differences, you can judge this based on your experience with other shooters, and if you generally like shooters, Gears 4 doesn't really leave much to be desired. You'll probably find things to like about it. The Gears 4 multiplayer is nothing compared to a game like Overwatch, but Overwatch doesn't really have a story campaign or dedicated PvE modes. The Gears 4 story campaign is nothing compared to a game like BioShock Infinite, but BioShock doesn't have any multiplayer at all. The single-player world isn't as open or packed with collectibles as Tomb Raider, but Tomb Raider doesn't have the weighty, deliberate feel and constant driving pace Gears 4 favors. So yeah, Gears 4 feels different than a lot of other games you're probably familiar with, and if you haven't played other Gears games, there's a learning curve. But the game is just different, not bad, and I'd say it's well worth a play. If you're still nervous, grab it when it's on sale. This is a really great place to jump into the Gears of War franchise, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I apparently need to stop skipping neck day at the gym. Honestly, I didn't even know that was a thing until now.